What up, my freaks? RuinusInsight here with part 18 of my Total War Warhammer 3 modded Drazhoath the Ashen Old World campaign. So as we saw last time, we are continuing to take territory from the overlords of Zharduk and the slaves of Zhar now as well, really looking to lock down the entirety of the crater. Not that these guys are that big of a threat, but it does allow us to play around with our hobgoblin laborer armies a little bit, and that's a good thing in my book. And we also were able to try out the fire trolls as well as the hobhound ravagers, I think the name of the unit was. The sort of better unit of melee cav, or the anti-infantry at least, a unit of cav, yes, hobhound ravagers. In terms of what we got to do this time, we are still trying to deal with Imrik and with Malice's faction. Still very concerned because we still don't know where his other armies are, as in Malice's, but well, I wanted to end the turn, but I forgot that we were besieging Ruined Landing here with Nabua, and I think there's a very, very high likelihood that they will sally out, simply because Dark Elf garrisons are insane. They've got, let's see, Black Dragon, War Hydra, and Cold One Dread Knights, all of which are tier 5 units, plus the Executioners and the Black Guard of Nagaron, both of which are tier 4 units, and nothing in this army is above tier 3, and we got a couple of tier 2s in the form of the Hell Cannon. That's Infernal Guard, so yeah, you gotta be wary of Dark Elf garrisons at pretty much all times. We conquered the second of the oil rigs there in a tiny little battle that I did between the episodes because it was auto-resolvable, and or it wasn't quite auto-resolvable, but the garrison was barely existent, and we've got one oil rig remaining now. And gotta get those Hellforged drills up and running so we could do a little bit more DREADQUAKEing towards the end game here. Anyway, let's get started with what we have, which I think is actually nothing. It's just an end turn until presumably these guys sally out. So let's do that, shall we? Libertage, you're fine. I'm just going to assume everybody else is fine. Where are we here? Oh, let's find out. Skip building upgrades, and I didn't check the Diplo, but it's too late because I've clicked the button, and that has not changed. Right, now I wonder where Malice is in the turn order. I guess we're gonna have to find out. Also, turn is ending, likes and comments, hour-long episode, yada 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 yada. Alrighty, let's see, Knights of Calidor, oh, okay, not attacking us. Hagriff, yes, alright, they are early in the turn order and they will indeed sally out, giving us a Pyrrhic victory. What do we have in terms of, okay, I see no fire resistance on the Black Dragon, which is probably going to be good for us, and oh wow, look at all the frickin' traits on the frickin' Cold One Dread Knights. I guess this is, at least in part, maybe a little bit of overcompensation, because when released, Cold One Dread Knights were kind of, or Cold One Knights in general, but the Dread Knights were kind of a joke. Now, especially in SFO, they are extremely nasty, and they have a lot of additional buffs on them as well. And oh, recovery, oh, that's interesting. Exceptional protection, yeah. Should be a pretty fun fight, generally speaking. Gonna have to watch out for that Shadows of Anlek spam, but luckily for us it is a fire damage ability, which we will be decently, if not invulnerable to, at least resistant to. Let's get to it now, boy. You gotta pull this off, bud. Alrighty, always a little bit weird to see the chaos of dwarfs among the sort of verdant fields rather than the Badlands or the Darklands type of terrain. But anyway, here we go. You got to love the Dark Elves and their insane garrisons because they offer so much of these sort of nice balanced armies that have a little bit of everything. The hybrid Blackheart Corsairs, plenty of Dark Shards, Executioners, Black Guard of Nagaron, monsters, a mage, as well as a Death Hag to lead. A little bit of everything. I love it. Anyway, let's see how we fare against them, shall we? Our Death Shriekers are going to switch fire towards the enemy Black Dragon, as well as that War Hydra. And then, of course, our Hell Cannons will be targeting the critical targets. We can ignore, by and large, the enemy basic troops, i.e. the Bleak Swords and Dread Spears, and have the Hell Cannons try to knock out as many Executioners and Black Guard of Nagaron as possible. possible before A, they get close enough to fight, and B, before they activate their murderous prowess and buff themselves up. Anyway, it looks like the War Hydra has taken a couple of volleys from those Death Shriekers, and by the looks of it, will never be able to reach our battle lines as it's already taken half of its HP in damage. The enemy has now gotten close enough for our Infernal Guard with Fireglaves and our Annihilators to begin firing, which means we activate the Flaming Sword of Ruin to buff everybody's missile damage, including our artillery, by 63%. Granted, it's only base missile damage and not armor piercing, but it's pretty solid. Still pretty solid. Love those pew pew lasers, and I do like that we have the troll hammers to fire, or annihilators to fire over them. Alright, and even as some of the enemy executioners and other elites did manage to close the distance, they had a pretty bad time. And doing so, Death Hag takes a volley of naphtha bombs, and ooh, very nice, other volley of naphtha bombs into the enemy Black Ark Corsairs from our bomb throwers, who will continue checking their bombs from behind the line of sword and board regular Infernal Guard. It's time for them to finally get into combat as well, with the laser beams still whizzing overhead. You gotta love how flashy fights with the Chaos Dwarfs are. It's fantastic. And ooh, last shot from that poor Hydra. It's like that meme with the cat that screams. But anyway, yeah, Hydra goes down to the Death Shriekers, and I believe the dragon is either already down as well, as it was being focused down by the other one. Yeah, I think the dragon fell, but I missed it because I was looking at the main line. On the other hand, however, while we did manage to bring down a lot of their elites, the Cold One Dread Knights did manage to close the distance. That's a lot of armor piercing, and as we've saw, crazy buffed damage, and they do have murderous mastery rather than prowess, so they're about to get even more buff. 92 melee attack, 98 now, and lethal poison as well. The Scorched Slayers here have killed 5 and have lost about half of their HP for their trouble. It's a very, very nasty unit in SFO, even with the support that we're doing our best to provide, as the Annihilators are firing upon them, and we're moving a unit of Fireglaive to try to destroy them before they kill off the Scorched Slayers, who are rapidly dwindling in numbers faster than the Cold One Dread Knights. Are even going to debuff them a little bit further by popping off a flash bomb. But on the bright side, while the Cold One Dread Knights are having a pretty good time, the rest of the enemy army very much isn't, as they've been pretty much destroyed. Another volley of naphtha bombs right into the line of enemy Black Ark Corsairs, and it looks like the melee infantry are going to give that up. The Cold One Dread Knights at last seen off will take a few more shots of Annihilators and pew-pew lasers to the back as they book it on out of there, having killed off 32 of our units of Scorched Slayers. Very nice. Very nice, but they won't survive escaping. Frankly, probably should have fought to the death, as it's probably better than taking a torpedo to the back of the head. Although I guess you will never have known what exactly happened. Anyway, a nice fight. The enemy did manage to close the distance. Our losses were relatively minimal everywhere except for where the Cold One Dread Knights made contact, but that's a note for the future, to focus them down a little bit harder, or maybe even peel away preemptively one of the units of Fireglaves or torpedoes to make sure that they gun them down. Frankly, it was partly at least a matter of my own positioning here that allowed them to do this, as this is an impassable terrain with trees that we can't fire over, so our units couldn't easily turn, and the Dread Knights went like this. So while normally we would simply be able to use units from our main line to fire upon them, they used this for cover. So good job to them. Credit. Alrighty, a really, really fun fight. That poor War Hydra and that poor Black Dragon getting absolutely obliterated by the 2 units of Death Shriekers we have with those Demolisher rockets. The Hell Cannons did absolutely fantastic as well, 32k and 41k damage, and severely damaging both the Black Guard of Nagaron and Harganeth Executioners, but the Cold One Dread Knights were able to loop around us in a way that we weren't able to easily fire upon them, and did heavy damage to the Scorched Slayers, which, funnily enough, seems rather appropriate that a unit named after Slayers is the one to have suffered the most damage here. Anyway, we got labor, we got pretty solid amounts of cash, and we got a little bit of replenishment. I think for this amount, we're going to take the cash here. Yeah, we're running out of cash a lot faster than everything else, and granted, we are also running out of labor fairly quickly. We still want to recruit a bunch of stuff, so there is that to consider. Daughters of the Forest is what you want us to attack throughout, but there's no need, at least not right now. You can handle them yourself, I'm sure, especially considering that Thrott's, well, the entirety of the Hell Pit is surrounded by Chaos factions, so it's kind of difficult to get down there. The Sarthoriel Zevor Watchers as well as the Slaaneshi faction are all up above the Hell Pit. But anyway, peace treaty with Marcus. I don't know why we would bother. It's not like he's any kind of threat, and it's not like he'd ever come over here. He's way, way too far away. And Bloody Hands, I see, are still moving around, and maybe they are moving towards Arbol, which works for our purposes, even as we continue using Arbol as a barrier. Military axes with War Host of the Apocalypse. I don't see the need, at least not while he remains at war with Kairos. And Kolak, I think, is also an enemy of one of our friends, so we're going to just ignore that. Especially, or just generally, the Warriors of Chaos. They don't provide much value as allies, which is why we can trade with them, but we're not going to bother throwing our lot in with them. Unlike the demons, who we can at least trick into our war engines, or, you know, borrow their units, etc., etc., etc. Alright, let's see what else we got here. Why the camera look over here? I don't even know where this is. This is what, up above the Goromadni Mountains, I suppose. And Corson of the Bloody Sword, Military Alliance. I'm gonna say no, though he has grown friendlier with Valkia by the looks of it. Earlier he was hating on them. Whoa! Strength rank 5? Keepers of Bliss? Who are you? How did you manage that? Damn, some random Slaaneshi faction in the middle of the mountains is also disliked by the looks of it by a bunch of Chaos factions around and are at war with Kolak. Huh, go figure. Alright, well, good job to Keepers of Bliss. I'm gonna have to keep an eye on you. Coveted Passion, we are already allies with you, but we're not gonna go straight into Military Alliance, just in case you attack Khorne for some reason. Military Alliance with Sarthoriel, also not necessary. We've got a few military alliances, but I don't want to go too heavy on it. Chattel of Jar, this little Kislevite faction that we've been keeping around. Probably going to betray them, though it might be funny to just keep them around and borrow their units. We could probably get decent value out of the, at the very least, the war sleds, as well as specially because they provide supportive buffs in SFO, but also for the Frostworms. Combine them with the Iceforged Legion, perhaps, but anyway, peace treaty, no. Will you attack us? You will not. Surprising. You had your chance and oh, looking like they want to move past our armies to move down here. Interesting. Who the heck are you? Pester Clanus, you're at war with Tamarkan. We're allied with Tamarkan, so that's going to be a no. Though, did that say strength rank 11 or 111? Because that's a pretty strong Skaven faction if it is 11. And it looks like that's it. Okay, this army is going to be annoying because we don't have other armies we can send to chase it down right now, though I suppose we can recruit some. But it'll still be something that we have to deal with. Wow, everybody wants to align today. AI has a tendency to do that, where all the factions decide this turn we're all going to ask for stuff. The Black Dwarf, no. Once again, you're a Chaos Dwarf faction, there's no need to do that. Oh, this guy still kind of likes us. Well, again, not so much anymore, but anyway. We gotta have those, oil platforms, or those oil rigs. Trait gain for Belsaru Heckhart irrelevant. Master Mason for somebody. The Scourgeborn are destroyed, and I think they were one of our trading partners, which is a bit of a shame. Faction destroyed, WoW fails, technology researched, Ceaseless March is up next, and Convoy completed. Lovely. Free Goblin Laborers, and ooh, chance to... Okay, yeah, so it did go up, meaning we basically have to constantly send one thing up there. Whoa! Chalice of Blood and Darkness, hello. Enemy spell cast within range. Range is infinite. Massive amounts of healing. Oh, that's a really cool item. Huh. So basically, if an enemy casts a spell anywhere on the map, the holder of this gets a huge heal. This is really interesting. Granted, it is at a cooldown, but this is a really nice item. Alright, too bad we haven't gotten any of these earlier. Definitely going to give that to somebody. Hey, and another Trickster's Helm. Lovely. We've been hankering for some armor for our lords, because the armors of the forges, which we have on, well, several lords right now, which are more plentiful, really aren't cutting it. It's only 5% ward save, which is good, but it's not great. Anyway, what was I going to say? First of all, we have labor somewhere, which is needed in Howling District. I don't know where that is. Is that the only one? It looks like the only one. What the heck is Howling District? Dragon Sign? Okay, fine. Oh, wait. Howling District. District sounds like... yes, it's down here. And yeah, fair enough. Accept new labor, and we'll transfer some labor over here as well. Let's do... I don't know, it doesn't really matter from where. Ooh, wow, you need to set an example. And you two need to set an example as well. Alrighty, and while we're doing that, the rest look pretty okay, at least for now. Let's see, we got a surplus of a fair bit in, well, actually not really here, but here, small one, decent one here. Alright, let's try... here as well. Alright, the rest of this will go to Howling District, like so. There we go. Alright, but there we go. Now we're at 100%. Now, you guys, all of you guys, and ooh, they're sort of blobbing up around their tower, which does make sense. Zatan, but it looks like you can't quite reach this place, which is a shame, but what can you do? I don't think they'll attack you, or at least they'd be probably pretty insane to even try it, so just go here. But if they try it, they try it. Then Gorthy, I would like you to guard the troop train here. Troop train, you're gonna go this way. You're gonna have to transfer those to Zatan as fast as possible, and then Gorthy, we're going to pop you into, I guess, channeling stance, and just stay near troop train. We can't use underway because they might get intercepted. Alrighty. Then you, Vragni Unzaled, you have two things to do. First of all, get rid of one of your orc laborers, high rank though they were. And then go here. Maybe even try an ambush stance? Probably not gonna work, but give it a try. Go ambush stance right here. And then we'll pop the second con into your army like so. And of course we'll pop the Bull Centaur in your army as well. Lovely. And with that, this first laborer army is complete. We'll get another one on the field to sort of be a follower of this army. And it'll probably consist of ogre laborers and nobbler laborers, by and large. Just because they're a little bit faster. Anyway, Drazh, where is Imrik? Damn it, he's gone again. Every time. Alright, I assume he's gone this way because he owns Shakalot's lair. I don't... Oh, okay, yes, there he is. Probably looking to protect us from Marball. Which, fair enough. That's a question. Do we go... I guess we go for Anral's tomb, then grab Shakalot's lair, and then start booking it back around this way, maybe? I'm very worried about there being armies here. You know what, maybe we even, if we have any spare money, maybe we send a Demonsmith down there. Originally that was this guy's purpose, but he's been having to keep an eye on Imrik. Anyway, Anral's tomb is basically undefended, so Drazhoath, you should be able to occupy it for free. And it is a tower. I wish Shakalot's lair wasn't part of this province, because if this was the tower, we'd grab this and then just go back, because, yeah, we can. Anyway. Yeah, just do it, just do it. And this entire territory will be factories. Anyway, auto-resolve, please, and tower at tier 5. Like so. Alright, potion of healing, nice pickup, and... I'm gonna get this up and running immediately. Let's do it. I might even transfer some labor here. I'm also quite tempted to buy the prototype Mega Mortar here while we're in the midst of the fight. Probably a fairly decent location for it. And then do the Demon Smithy, definitely do the base patrol routes, definitely do the donation barrel and the, I guess, ziggurat tenements. We probably, or at least possibly, want the Temple of Hashut, but no, actually, Incinerator will probably be more valuable. Frankly, the Temples of Hashut cost such an insane amount of raw materials for each one that it almost makes it feel not worth it, even if they do provide that miscast-based chance reduction and wins a magic power reserve. But we'll see. Eventually, the prototype Mega Mortar will not be needed in this territory, and it might be replaced. Anyway, Nabua, while I have you, you can grab Ruined Landing. Like so. And, ooh. 4.2k to raise, ooh, but also 1.3k labor. Now I'm gonna have to go with the labor again. As tempting as this is. Because we never know when we're gonna go through sort of a labor dry spell, if that makes any sense. Occupy Test Tower, yes. And because there have been definite moments in the campaign where for several turns we weren't really able to acquire any labor at all, and it was definitely a problem for us. And this guy moved away from this place. Oh, and we just built these guys. Damn you, game. Alright, well, maybe we can put you to use here. Let's put you in March stance and start moving you over here. You might be able to help Nabua grab a few things while hopefully not wasting too much movement. Anyway, Kuntij and Co. Now, so if you land, you can't really move any further, I take it? Just out of curiosity. Are you able to actually... it looks like you're just out of range, which ain't great. You might be able to reach this, but if you can't, you can't. We might actually have to set you to sail. Alright, fine. Go here. Try to land... Can't tell if you're landing here or not. You know, go out to sea. The ports work really weirdly in this location, so can't seem to figure out how to directly attack them, which would be really helpful here. Well, we'll try it with Kuntij, because this guy's coming in anyway. Just go, like, right under this location and see if that helps you out at all. Oh, I forgot how damaged you were, but nonetheless, if you can fight, do fight. Try this. Nope, and you have to land here. Alright, fair enough. Fair enough. And you can't go any further. Well, I guess you'll have to wait, and if they attack you, they attack you. You are staying here. Frankly, Middle Manager Stormbreaker, with his bellicose nature and his high level, I was going to have him lead a new elite army, so I think it's time for him to reset his skill points. I also lose the Eye of Hashut because I was tempted to give that to Drazhoath. Anyway, reset all skill points, yes. Stormbreaker's coming back. He's been promoted. Somebody's finally been promoted. It's unheard of, I know. Anyway, I wasn't doing that in order, I will admit. So now we have to go from the top again. But it is what it is. Alright, so Kerf Damatash, you obviously won't be able to reach Gerar here. Well, let's see what we have going on at Blasted Heath. And we do have a stack there, and a Pyrrhic Victory. Ooh, more fun for the Zelad Berserkers. Well, 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 we'll definitely fight that. No doubt about it. And what about Vrogny? Huh. I think he went down to 1 HP again. And then healed at the end of the turn, because before he... It's irritating. But I don't know, whatever, man. Let's go to the South Sentinel, and ooh, there's another one of the major ancestors of Alea here, or major relics, whatever. And this is the one that gives us 3 control and rush construction labor cost, both of which are quite valuable. Yeah, definitely gonna have to claim that as nice and ooh, even though the healing salve of Alea is also very, very solid. Enables replenishment in foreign territory. Actually, as I recall from Vanilla, Darkened Mist is kind of terrible, but melee defense +5 and physical resistance for all units in army. That's pretty fantastic. But we gotta have the control. Well, less sort of mucking about with constant public order bonuses. Anyway, ooh, okay, just so I don't forget. We got the Mobile Oppression Palace for Drazhoath. What is this? River Dolgan. Wow, that's a lot of Marauder Hunters with Javelins. Good job to the AI for building them, though. Marauder Hunters with Javelins are fantastic. You, sir. Get your last unit. Hashut's Dark Ravagers. Minus the possibility of getting 1 more Bull Centaur and possibly losing 2 of these if it feels like it's too many. Oh, actually, speaking of Bull Centaurs, Temperamental, not the one we wanted. Vindictive, not the one we wanted. I wanted a... no. Compulsive, Extravagant. We want one with not controlling, but manipulative, but not of Metal Lord. and also not for this army, but anyway. I guess you can trespass in these guys' territory. What is this, by the way? Hello, we got some neat stuff here. Is this their only territory? It is. We could take this while we're on the way and make a tower here, because we're likely to claim Black Skull Mountain. I don't like how these guys own a territory, but it is what it is. Anyway, go for it. I don't know why I'm keeping this guy in tunneling stance. It wasn't necessary here, but these guys look like they would be willing to give him a heck of a fight. So Ostrogoth, hopefully you'll be able to enjoy yourself. We're not allied with these guys, right? Yeah. I did actually do a bunch of trade agreements with a bunch of factions between the episodes. Not this episode, but a previous episode. Funnily enough, our trading income is still not as crazy as I thought it would be. I've definitely had trade income with factions like Skaven either match or even outdo building income, whereas the Chaos Dwarfs, which are very much a trade-centric faction, don't seem to be climbing nearly as high as I would have thought. But anyway, Vrogny, you're getting your own army, but you'll have to sit around for a while. We'll just have to wait on that. Zardrag Doomtamer. You... Okay, wait. I need to see something here. Lords. I want to see the Pelt Shamans. We got little fire... Well, the Miscast base chance is fine, but otherwise it's just a fireball. It's kind of an inferior thing. Frankly, the missile resistance is probably more valuable. I guess we'll have to wait for a different Pelt Shaman. Alright, that's fine. Libetosh, you can, I guess, stay here because you're recruiting. You can grab these units for now, and then move to reinforce this army. So, you're going to march stance here, in range of Gorogzuf, and then we will want to be taking Grintjar. May even want to wait and then take it with both armies together, because this guy's still healing, and he probably wants to... Nah, he doesn't heal as much out there. I was going to say he probably wants to channel, but I guess we can wait. Also, let's double check the cons. We got another Poisoner, which is solid. And I guess the Poison is probably a good pick here. Let's get you on field. There you go. But we still definitely need the one that makes you immune to Devastating Flank, or whatever it is. Or not immune to Devastating Flanker, makes you immune to flanking. Anyway, let's do that fight that we were looking to do, shall we? And ooh. Huh, if this guy's moved away from Barrybone's fort... Oh, you can't reach it in one turn. Alright, fine. You're gonna go here, you're gonna go into ambush stance, and you're gonna go right to the edge of this territory. Surprisingly, your ambush stance isn't all that high, your ambush chance isn't all that high, rather. And you go here. You, Farquad, Steel Tech. Nice, successful. Good for you, sir. And you are going to level up, and then we're going to fight. Alright, so we have Stalwart Defender maxed out. Let's go for Foe Seeker on you, easy, and then I guess we are leveling you two the same way. Frankly, I should have gone Headdress of Jar, but it's too late now. And you, sir. Glittering Robe, I'm going to say... No, Transmutation of Lead. I want the area of effect. Especially to help out the Zealot Berserkers, because they are still going to be vulnerable. Pyrrhic Victory, eh? And wait, is this a minor settlement battle? Doesn't look like it. Looks like a field battle. Alright, that works in our favor, probably. And away we go. Alrighty, here we go. We've had one chance to knock out droves of slayers with this little army of bully boys and the units of Chaos Dwarf Slayers / Zealot Berserkers, and we got another chance for ourselves right here. Plus, we got 2 more Zealot Berserkers now, so that's 6. Probably not going to make any more into this particular army, although I do have a plan for another army focused on them with a little bit more buffs, and we'll see how that works out as well. But it's a fun unit to play around with a little bit. Anyway, looks like we're heading directly into the enemy lines. We gotta book it towards them as fast as we can to try to get into combat with the enemy Plague Claw catapults. Unfortunately, the Bull Centaur Renders definitely have the mass to break through enemy lines, although it looks like in this particular battle that won't be nearly as much of an issue. as the enemy will hang their catapults out to dry. Very Skaven of them, admittedly. We do catch a Warp Lightning hit right to our Bull Centaur Renders, who do lose about 5% of their HP from it, and we do have to watch out, as Warp Lightning has always been a very nasty spell. Though, of course, it'll be much nastier against the Slayers than against the Bull Centaur Renders, who are very much engaged in the enemy front line and starting to work through the enemies. Here come these Slayers, though, and ooh, it looks like a little bit of Berserk on Berserk action. Here's the Plague Monks, a rush to meet them in combat. These two units will probably heavily damage each other rather quickly, and kind of an interesting matchup, especially as the Plague Monks are unbreakable and buffed in SFO as well, and quite nice units. Alright, and I see some Slayers dropping, more Plague Monks dropping, but it looks like the enemy will charge the Slayers with some Wolf Rats as well, which ain't gonna be so great. And ooh, the Slayers rapidly lose about 50% of their HP to that. The flank is always the most dangerous place to be in an army, and unsurprisingly it is the flanking unit of Slayers that suffers the most damage. Otherwise, it looks like the battle is still very much in the enemy's favor, surprisingly or unsurprisingly, and we do get to work our way through those piles or those hordes of rats. Gonna pop a Transmutation of Lead to try to bail the Slayers out at least a little bit, especially or particularly the ones that are taking so much damage on the flank. The Bull Centaur Renders, however, don't care too much about this. They can by and large ignore the Zealot Berserkers and the rats as they plow through their lines and try to move towards the more critical targets that are available to them, and even possibly disrupt their formations and charge through to help the Slayers out a teensy bit. Of course, our mage is flying support overhead and is taking hits from the enemy slingers, but that's pretty much always the case. I do like how the Bull Centaur Renders tower over the enemy infantry piles, so the infantry generally continue their fights down below them with a little bit of help from the Renders. And I think 3, maybe 4 seems to be the appropriate number of Renders to intersperse in your main line. Not so many of them that they get into each other's way in the way that they do in Astrogoth's army, for example, but they're his signature units, so he had to have a fair bit. Although there are potential adjustments to be made there. Maybe even some borrowed units from allies as well, although I have to figure out what kind. I did want to put some Fiends of Slaanesh in an army or two, because I do really like the unit. But anyway, looks like the bounce power is about even now, 50-50, though there is still very much fight to be fought. Slayers have essentially separated from each other now, and are no longer a cohesive battle line, but that's hardly surprising, as the Slayers or the Zealot Berserkers do have that rampage ability on them, so once they make contact with the enemy, you can't really expect to maintain control. It's taking a fair bit of time to hack our way through these several stacks of Skaven here, but that's just the way we like it, and it's one of the reasons why it's always such a fun time to be had fighting droves of Skaven. Partly because, while you generally can get a decent bit of labor out of it, and partly because it's always just really entertaining to fight massive hordes of enemies. Alrighty, but the bounce power continues shifting in our favor. It looks like the enemy's right flank, where our Bull Centaur Renders charge through. As we remember, they charge the Plague Claw catapults, has completely collapsed, whereas the part where they're fighting the Laborers and the Slayers slash Zealot Berserkers, I'm not going to shake that, sorry. It's just not going to happen. This flank is very much still in the fight. We have sent 1 unit of Zealot Berserkers, or 1 unit of Bull Centaur Renders, the one time I say the correct name, to try to bail them out and provide a little bit of a line anchoring for our fragile units. But we'll need a few more. Alright, tactically not much else to say about this particular fight, just watching the glorious action. And I do like the fact that they brought some Skaven slaves. We brought some Hobgob laborers, or Goblin laborers generally speaking. It makes it an even feeling fight, because we got tier 1s in the form of the Goblin laborers, tier 2s in the form of the Zealot Berserkers, and a few tier 4s in the form of the Bull Centaur Renders, but very few of them as well. A nice little composition. Oh, that was brutal. One strike from that Bull Centaur's axe and the enemy just explodes into little gobbets of meat. Anyway, the balance power shifts at last 100% in our favor, and with that, the Skaven horde breaks, and the battle is ours. Sorry, Clan Gouger, we were originally willing to potentially work with you, in the same manner that we were originally potentially willing to work with the Pallid Nurslings and Nurglites, but alas, it was not fated to be. The portrait still looks so cute, but anyway, there we are, a very nice fight. Ah, damn, this unit of Night Runners survived. A bit of a shame, but oh well. It was a really fun fight. I do love fighting the Skaven and the big numbers that we can rack up. Looks like the Zealot Berserkers on the left flank here took by far the most damage, but at the same time racked up the most kills, at least of the other Berserkers, and got 28k, which is by far the most damage as well. Kind of makes sense they weren't together with the Bull Centaur renders, and thus they took quite a bit of damage. Surprisingly, the Bobs and the other Goblin Laborers still managed to take a fair few hits as well, so, and good for them. Anyway, I forgot to check whether this was at factories or, well, this one's a factory, but it's a factory that I think we were changing to outposts, so we'll occupy it as outpost instead, and I'm pretty sure I'm right about this. At least I hope I am, we'll find out. And yeah, this was the place. We'll change you to outpost as well. We have plenty of factories on the way and lots of coastline to turn into factories. Lamasu for Alkrish Heldower, good. And enemy killed in battle, and also good. You are basically maxed out in terms of channeling, so don't need to worry about that. And it looks like this army is probably too weak to threaten stuff here, but we at the same time probably shouldn't risk it either, so we'll have to... That's a question. Alright, we'll figure this out after we have moved everybody. Well, they obviously can't take Black Fortress because it's way too well defended. It's Flayed Rock that I'm kind of terrified about, but even if they do attack it, what we could always do is we could emergency summon the Iceforged Legion and the Soul of Damnation, which we're waiting to put into their own armies. So, yeah. Anyway, who's next? Strikecard the Dominator. I feel like I check you every... Oh, right, you're the Guardian of Uzkalak, at least for now. And you're still holding on to those high-rank dwarf blunderbusses. We will continue to hold on to them, at least for now, until I decide otherwise. Belsuru Hackhart. Okay, so you two meet... No, it doesn't really matter where. Actually, you have to meet halfway. Well, actually, no, you know what? Travel as far as you can, because you need to get those rockets to where they need to go. Which is our regular Chaos Dwarf Warrior army. And then you can... you know what? Do this. We'll use Belsuru Hagheart to transfer stuff because he's thirstful, which is kind of a waste. And then you, Tecton, can start moving back here. We'll want to use this Infernal Castellan who's unethical to help lead our super elite infantry army, which we can get up and running here, and get ready to start moving them towards Grimgor. I want to see them in action against the Black Orcs and great weapons and otherwise. Should be pretty fun. Let's see. Corpseg doesn't need to move. Who else? Luktas Sindrazan, you're where you're supposed to be. Liptash, Blackbeard, you're supposed to potentially recruit stuff, but you can also command an army as needed. Anybody else? Libitash the Grey, you're waiting until Zardrak here is good to go, so you're waiting for a little bit. You can move no further, unless you can land here. Can you? I gotta be kidding me. Oh no, he could probably land, but but Kuntish is in the way, isn't he? Oh, you gotta be kidding me. Wait, no, there's gotta be a way to do this. I think he's taking the only position that we can be in. That's really unfortunate. Unless, wait. What if we click here? Nope, that just clicks through it. Damn it, game. Why you do this? What if we do this? Yeah, no, he's taking... I'm sorry, Gordas and co. That's on me. That's definitely on me. Field researcher. Okay, these guys have taken Skull Splitter's hold. We don't want them to move any further. I'm really hoping that they don't go for Shakalot's lair. Or at the very least that I'm hoping that Imrik can defend it there. Corporate spy. Oh. This army has moved. That's not good. There was a full stack there with black orcs and stuff. This is their territory, this is not their territory, meaning I'd say the chance is higher, unless I see the camp. I don't see a camp anywhere. Alright, we're gonna try down here because this is their territory. And we're nearly bordering. Aha, there it is. Okay, good, good, good. And oh, they have 2 full stacks here. That's also not good. If they start moving this way, okay, we'll need to be able to rapidly build up the defenses of this place, but it's not going to be able to hold 2 stacks, that's for sure. Not that we really care about this territory all that much, but, you know, it's still providing us plenty of raw materials, so certainly something to be wary of. Anyway, I believe that's all we got to do this particular turn, don't we? Unless we were besieging something and then I promptly forgot about it, which is also a distinct possibility. Because we do have a lot of... I didn't mean to click that. We do have a lot of stuff running around, a lot of armies running around. You guys are good. We could potentially recruit some stuff. I don't think anybody's besieging anything. Still very concerned about this. Let's take a look at heroes for a second, or take a look at them again. I want to see if there's another potential tech thief. I really wish they weren't so ludicrously expensive, though. Frankly, we don't really need tech thieves anymore, because I think at 524 research rate, we are at a good enough place to do most of the attacks in one turn. And the techs that take armaments always take one turn, which means they essentially give us the moment to... to continue moving. Let's get that Sorcerer Prophet's Estates there while we're clicking stuff. All right, I'm gonna risk not building an army here, and I'm just gonna hope it doesn't come back to bite us anyway. I guess we gotta do building, folks. No choice in the matter, as we've got a bit of income. We could start recruiting the stuff that I wanted to recruit with you. Oh no, we can't. We need to switch you to military doctrine before we do. Which, fair enough. Fair enough. We will do so. We also got that Kadai army upcoming as well. Oh, wait a moment. Can you build any Kadai? Well, I guess you're also not in the right, you're not in the right... You know, we can't build 2 armies at once, not yet. We will, but not yet. Dragon Isles, we will want more money, so Gold Refinery most definitely. Get that Sorcerer Prophet's Tower up and running as well. Our character experience gain isn't as much as I'd like, and another sort of major difference, I would say, between SFO, or not SFO, Old World and Immortal Empires is that fact that it's not as easy to get XP, which means your lords don't level quite as high as they otherwise would in Immortal Empires, because the distance to battles is greater, so you're spending a lot more time traveling instead of fighting, you know? Anyway, Fort Death Toll, 1600, let's upgrade you. What else have we got? Alright, definitely the Tribute Shrine, and... okay, no, it's a little bit expensive. Hold off on the Incinerator, but we can build a Brine Mine. I like the rhyme. What is this? Is this a Demon Smithy? No, it's a Centaur Toric, which we have plenty. Let's upgrade you. More trade goods, more trading, and get those battlements up and running. Yes, all the stuff here needs upgrading, but unfortunately we don't have the money for it. But at the very least, go for the Wolf Taming Den, the Gold Smelter, and the Gold Refinery, and that's it. Money-wise, other than the armaments, but we're holding on to those. And where are you going? I assume they're not going to try to attack us. No, they're friendly with us. I guess we'll see. Let's take a quick look at Diplo, and Fester Clan Nest and Horns of should want to trade, but that's not something we really care about. Is there any faction that we might want to trade with that... I did want to get an Ogre Alliance. Agents of the Moon, Cathay. Huh. There's a Cathan faction down here who's friendly with Cult of Sigmar and against a bunch of other factions, a bunch of Skaven factions. I wonder if these guys would survive long enough for us to acquire some of their units, because drums would be fantastic. Probably better than most of the Chaos supporting weapons. Chaos support... units for our particular purposes, as in get those drums for those laborers, work faster to the beat and all that. Hag wants to peace out. Yeah, I'm sure you do. I'm sure you do. But otherwise, it doesn't look like there's anything, so we'll skip building, skip damaged building. Oh, right, we took Ruined Landing. Hey, we gotta keep a tier 4 fire enclave. That saved us like 3,000 armaments. That's pretty solid. All right, and we got to keep this port, which saved us like 2,000 raw materials. It's not so bad. Because we were going to raise it, which would have given us 4,000 odd raw materials, but we saved enough to have made this reasonably worth our while. Not so bad. Get rid of the ash level though. It's not needed. We will get the patrol routes because we need those everywhere, and same with the donation barrel, as well as probably something else that we can't afford, so we'll ignore the rest. All right, outpost upgrade available. Now we're saving money because we're recruiting expensive stuff next turn. Outpost available straight up. With whom? Oh, it's Tamarkan. It's kind of useless, though. Because we can't really get his units by the looks of it. Anyway, end turn. Huh, go figure. They will in fact sally out and attempt to attack Zatan the Black here, which is probably a good idea on their part. It is, however, going to be quite dangerous for them, as Zatan does now have 2 trains. That said, he has a lot of artillery pieces to try and protect, which is going to be the dangerous aspect of this. Still, it should be a pretty darn fun fight, so let's get to it. Alright, well, Zatan sounds pretty darn happy about his trains, as this is their debut battle. Let's see how well they do. We've got one of each type, a Skullcracker train and a Iron Demon train, and they will volley their first Dreadquakes at the enemy. Although perhaps this might be a ranging shot. No, it will actually connect rather with the first of the enemy units, a little unit of Hobgob archers. Probably a waste to fire them both at the same unit, but hopefully they will change targets shortly. Anyway, gonna keep moving up as the rest of our artillery are out of range of the enemy army. Oh wow, that's a big pipeline. That's a very big pipeline. I mean, consider the size here compared to the size of the army. The entire army could probably move down that pipeline, and certainly trains in numbers as well. But anyway, and here comes the second volley. There we go, into 2 units this time, and those units are going to be in pretty bad shape, and on top of that we got the other units firing as well. Magma Cannons, followed by Death Shriekers and Hell Cannons, and shortly we should be able to get the first shots from our, oh my lord, these poor units, from our other units of Dreadquakes. There they go, the non-train variant. This might be a little bit much on the Dreadquakes, but anyway. And let's see if these manage to connect with anything. Their range is a little bit short, so they can't quite hit where we want them to, but that's alright. Now, the Skullcracker train wants a little bit of melee action, so it will crack some skulls as it moves through the enemy line rather slowly, because it no longer has that move fast ability up and running, in the sense that it's on cooldown. But it can continue annoying the enemy while the artillery continues to work. And of course, the Iron Demon is doing the same thing, but also getting shots off. Ooh, very close range Dreadquake, and then back away before it, rather than standing in it. Zatan will get hit by a couple of enemy shots as well, specifically by the enemy blunderbusses, and who looks like one of the magma cannons does hit our train here, but 20 fire resistance and not much damage altogether. Plus, we can reforge it as needed. Looks like the enemy reinforcements are on the field. The enemy was waiting for them, but it feels like that was perhaps not the right move. Death Shrieker rockets coming down on the enemy Overseer, while magma cannons and everything else comes down around as well, including more Dreadquakes. And Zatan is of course getting a little bit of action himself, just fighting around on his Lamassu. And just because he can. Oh, I love all those different types of projectiles here. More enemies are... Well, actually, they're not moving all that much closer to us. Perhaps scared of the pile of artillery. They do have to cross a heck of a lot of distance to get closer to us. Enemy Lord is just about done as well. Yeah, so, yeah, they're kind of hanging outside the range of our artillery right now, which, fair enough. And one more Death Shrieker volley, perhaps. So it looks like most of them did miss, but one of them will find the enemy lord. And oh, it looks like the Hell Cannon actually steals the kill. Oh, I wasn't expecting that. The Death Shriekers did all the work, did all the damage to that enemy lord, and then the Hell Cannon delivers the final blow. What a kill stealer. Anyway, out here the Dreadquake trains are back in action. If the enemy army does not want to move towards us, we can always move towards them with the units that are still able to get in range. Unlike the rest of the artillery, which we can just keep on hanging back. Either the enemy sits there and takes Dreadquake after Dreadquake from our two trains, or it, well... Or it moves and takes Dreadquake after Dreadquake from also the trains while they move back, as well as the rest of our army. Alright, how are we doing here? Yeah, I think the AI doesn't know what to do here. It's just purposely hanging back right at the edge of the range of all of the artillery. Huh. I feel like I've seen the AI do this once or twice, but perhaps a rare sight to be seen. This AI, it might be broken. It just doesn't know how to react. And damn, look at those Dreadquakes go. Definitely have experienced many a Dreadquake barrage in other campaigns when fighting against Chaos Dwarfs, and it's certainly something to be extremely wary of, as they have a tendency to delete stuff. How are we doing? Speaking of deleting stuff, 561 kills, 67,000 damage, and 287 and 43k on the two trains. And by the looks of it, yeah, the AI is going to refuse to do anything. Unfortunately, this army can't do anything to the AI in the sense that we can't really engage with it directly, as this isn't really the type of army to do so, but we can try to move a little bit closer. But yeah, at least we got to try out all the artillery. It's not like we won't be seeing plenty more of this army. And once we have the regular Skullcrackers and the regular Iron Demons in this army to work with their two command trains, then those units will be able to sort of range out ahead of the artillery and such. The sort of low sound of the Dreadquakes connecting. It's a really nice. Oh, and it looks like the enemy army is starting to move towards us at last, which means the Magma Cannons and Hell Cannons and Death Shriekers will begin firing once more. But I just don't think even if they tried to rush us, they would be able to close the distance. Now, they had their chance, but they were milling around unsure. Perhaps the decapitating strike from the Death Shriekers and then kill stolen by that Hell Cannon defeated their lord, and thus they had no command structure left. Alrighty, and then another thing that the Dreadquakes can do, which is quite annoying, is the sort of vortex effect that they have, or the quake effect, whatever, sort of keeps enemy units back, making it difficult to move through the quake, and then sort of maintaining or helping maintain distance between us and the enemy army, which is pretty darn solid. Alrighty, and this is just shooting fish in a barrel, unfortunately, but, well, I mean, if the enemy was moving, it would probably be just shooting mobile fish in a barrel, so, yeah. This faction is done pretty clearly. Oh, well, what can you do? A couple more volleys from our artillery battery. Probably should, well, I was about to say, probably should maintain a little bit of distance between all the guns here. The thing is, they're standing together so that they can get the benefit of the Infernal Engineer from our single caster here. As soon as we get the other caster, then we'll be able to spread these guys out a little more. But for now, they want the at least little bit of extra help. And, wait, or does he not have this? A moment. Let me just see here. Infernal Engineer. Enabled of ground. Oh, we have to keep him. We have to keep enabled of ground. Oh, interesting. Okay, so we'll just put him on the ground the next time. Okay, that's a good knowledge that we learned this, or that I learned this in this particular battle, that we can't fly overhead and still provide that benefit. And that's alright, should be easy enough to ground said unit, just gotta make sure not to forget. Anyway, Death Shriekers have found more lords and heroes to target as they're moving around, but this is just horrific. I'd like to think the enemy army is desperately trying to negotiate with our army, and our army just continues firing. Besides, our gunners could use a little bit of practice before they get into real combat with any of the other factions and armies, which will happen relatively soon, as this army has the other units moving in. Anyway, I think with that, the battle is pretty much done. We've seen the bombardment, and the enemy army will shatter, and the balance of power, yada 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 yada. A nice job to the trains. We'll see how they did, especially compared to each other, and we'll try this army out further shortly. Alrighty, there we go. Broken battle or not, that was still absolutely horrifying, and I do feel bad for the overlords of Jarduk. Thinking that maybe the 4 Dreadquakes make the army a little bit too powerful, as in, the trains are already so solid that we don't necessarily need the 2 regular Dreadquakes, and I might put them in a different army so that we have more space for regular Iron Demons and Skullcrackers, as they're lower tier and they're not so obnoxiously strong as to scare the AI so much that it is paralyzed in fear. Plus, that'll give us potentially a little bit of extra room for some allied units, maybe some, I don't know, Doom Wheels, Soul Grinders, really anything mechanical. Warp Flayers, Doom Flayers, I always forget if it's Warp Flayer or Doom Flayer. Maybe Blood Shrines or Skull Cannons. I have wanted Skull Cannons in several armies as well. Anyway, we'll figure that out for now. We got 1,600 labor for our trouble here, which is nice, so gotta appreciate the overlords of Jarduk for giving us that. It is plenty. And hello, Gorazin Skosa. Well, I wasn't expecting that at all. They're going to attack the pile of hobgobs, yeah, but it's with just basic troops. I honestly feel like it's kind of not worth it. Like, yeah, we could use the goblin army to cut through the droves of hobgobs and stuff, but we've already done so a billion times, and yeah, let's just apply our items here. On you, Razor Standard to get a little bit of armor piercing on the main line. We should have the Gleaming Pennant on whoever's supporting, so it's probably going to be you. Standard of Discipline maybe on Gordas, and then lastly the Hobgob Standard will pop on the Oglacon's Wolf Boys. If we have a spare War Banner, we could give it to them as well, but for now the War Banners are going on Trains and Fire Glaives, which I think are probably the better choices. And these guys will need to go into melee occasionally, and the extra melee defense, which is already at a pretty nice state, is still quite valuable. Anyway, we will auto-resolve these guys. And surprisingly little labor, but decent labor here. Alrighty, and I really didn't expect them to sally out, and I really didn't... Hello, Dark Prophet. I really didn't expect them to... Ally mission successful. Oh, I forgot we had ally missions for somebody there. Enemy mission, Zatan the Black is Perfect Vigor. Nice. You don't need the Banner of Eternal Flame. That'll be more useful elsewhere. Campaign movement range for all armies. Very nice. And that Dark Prophet can go on somebody. In fact, that Dark Prophet can go on somebody right now. Gordos. Let me guess, it can only be given to lords? Yeah, it can only be... Oh, no, Demonsmith Sorcerers as well. Let's give it to you. And Dark Prophet. Alrighty, yeah, I really was expecting these guys to stay in Kolgalzar or otherwise to actually attack Kumtij because, look, he's heavily damaged. They all should have gone for him instead, but they didn't. Well, that's their problem. They're all... Oh, that's a bunch of ogre laborers. Huh. Valiant defeat, eh? I mean, we could use the other army to reinforce, but considering how damaged we are, this might be fun just to fight just because we can. And potentially quite dangerous as well, which I very much like. So go for it, why not? Alrighty, here we go, Kuntish back on the field. It's been a little bit of a while since we've seen him and his signature skullcrackers here, so we gotta get him in action once again. The Hobgob army under Gordas has kind of been taking the spotlight down in the south of our territories, but not to worry, once we're done here, we can essentially retrofit this army and then set it out to go and deal with stuff on its own, though it's perfectly capable of doing so. Anyway, interestingly enough, it looks like the AI decided to build a ton of ogre laborers, which is great because we haven't seen a lot of ogre action as yet, though we do still have to wipe out Goldtooth rather shortly. It looks like the ogres will charge our Hobgob Wolf Raiders. And 39 leadership, I guess the... Yeah, so the difficulty modifier, well, so it's not that bad. Charging 15, eh? I gotta take a look at the leadership stats as well. It's interesting that charging gives you a bonus to leadership. I guess so you don't... Oh, look at all those daggers. There's several daggers sticking out of the back of this guy's skull. But anyway, or front of his skull. I guess back and front doesn't matter. Anyway, looks like we are in the battle now. The ogres will start to do some damage to the sneaky gits, but it's not like we really care that much about the hobgobs here. And this is a somewhat appropriate fight, the ogre laborers versus the hobgobs, the ogres being the strongest of the laborers. To fight the hobgobs may be on par, and in fact they might be the stronger unit due to their splash and their ability to do that. Anyway, otherwise our skullcrackers are riding around somewhere. There we go, they found some enemy ogre laborers with another unit of sneaky gits, and are just going to make sure that they give chase to them and try to destroy as many as possible. Gotta remember that the skullcrackers aren't particularly effective against things like ogres. They're meant for infantry blobs, but they can knock a few of them down and make sure that they don't rally. And it does look like the enemy reinforcements have arrived, however. We got our two summoned wyverns from our Lamasus touching down to annoy the enemy down below and trying to focus down that bull centaur Torok. And it looks like the vast majority of the enemy will actually try to bypass the wyverns. I'm gonna pop a burning head through their blob with our mage. I can't even... Oh, there he is. And allow the magma cannon to continue firing. Bounce power is at about 80% in our favor, and we should be just fine here by the looks of it. Oh, and it looks like the Bull Centaur Torok has caught sight of one of these skullcrackers. That's not something we want, so we're going to back these guys off rather than allow him to dish out the damage to them. They are still relatively fragile after all. For example, let's see, the skullcracker has 8,000 HP. Toroks have, I think, over 10,000. 9,450. One of our own Toroks, which has the appropriate skill points with Bully, and the skill points have, what, 13,000 HP or something like that, and not even maxed out at that, so they are pretty darn tanky. Not quite to the level of giants, but certainly to the level of the bigger monsters. Only 6.5k on the feral wyverns, for example. They are fairly light on HP and are relatively fragile. Anyway, looks like some of the ogre laborers, impressively enough, are still on field, or perhaps have merely routed and then rallied. They will, however, have to close the distance with our hobgob lines, and will now take fire from our archers. Our unit of the Immortals, Infernal Ironsworn, are waiting to get stuck into the fight as well, and soon they will be in their own army, as I fully intend to put these guys in our super elite infantry force to work together with a couple of those aspiring champions units. And it looks like the enemy Torok has decided to join the fray with some Chaos Dwarf warriors with great weapons here, and our Overseer moved to attempt to intercept him. The enemy army has at last by and large closed the distance, though our wyverns and skullcrackers are continue annoying the enemy in the back lines. A Wrath of Jar comes down through some of the enemy units and probably clipping our own a teensy bit. Once again, due to the heavier armor of the Chaos Dwarf warriors, probably more dangerous to our own units than it is to them. But that's alright, we gotta have a spell to clear out the chaff. It looks like the enemy might not actually make it through our front line, and thus there's no need to keep the Immortals in reserve, and they can start moving into the melee instead. Occasionally like to use the tried and true tactic of tiring the enemy out with the laborers and generally the chaff before sending in our more elite troops, but by the looks of it, the enemy army will in fact shatter before that comes into effect, really. Here comes the Immortals, and that's got to be a scary sight for the rest of the Chaos of Dwarf Warriors, who will rout, and it looks like the balance of power will shift to about 90-95% in our favor. Only the enemy lords, it seems, still on the field, and that probably not for much longer. Our own lord on Lammasu versus the enemy as all of the other units chase around. Ooh, nice shield bash to send a few of those sneaky gits flying. Gotta appreciate it. And I'm going to pop the Cascading Fire Cloak on Kuntish, who has taken admittedly a little bit of damage throughout this fight. Obviously, the Lammasus are really quite helpful for a number of reasons, even though I would wager that the Lords are probably less effective on the Lammasus, at least in terms of dueling enemy Lords, than they are when dueling them on foot. But the Sorceress Miasma, the Silencing and Magical Weapon Reduction aura is really nice. The bounce spells are really nice. Honeyed Words to summon is a really nice mobility. All of that is worth it, even if these guys are more fragile on the flyers than they are on foot. Anyway, with that, the battle ends and another army falls to Kuntish, who is definitely back and on the action. Alright, there we go. Very nice little fight and decent bit of labor. Skullcrackers did unsurprisingly well, and same with the Hat Cannons. Magma Cannon plus the Hobgoblin Freighters were able to chase down and destroy enemy units fairly well as well. But all that aside, I feel like I ended the last turn and forgot to set in a convoy, didn't I? So I'm just going to do that right now. While watching the units sort of do their thing, I realized that I had forgotten. You will be added, and you're going to the closest place, which is once again Grundracore. Stock up on whatever you got and dispatch. Alright, armaments for labor. Now, just to double check here, anybody need a level? No, and... no. Okay, surprisingly not. Alright, well then just keep going and doing what you do. Salt Expert, Forest Cloak, Snipe and Vanguard deployment, kind of useless to us, I think. I don't think we have anything, any heroes whose snipe will do sufficient damage to, you know, for that to be worth our time. Battle reinforcement, reinforcement range, ambush success chance. This is all fine, but not stuff that we super need right now. I'm thinking we go straight through this line now. Time to finally get that buff for laborers and hobgobs. The melee defense and leadership for laborers and hobgobs is something I should have gotten in the very early portion of the campaign, but ended up not doing. And somewhat regretting it. But anyway, let's destroy what remains of this. Kuntish, hopefully you can. Candid, you can. And then we'll take the last of the oil rig bits. Take the... I don't know, money. Alright, and occupied obviously as a factory. Lovely. Lovely indeed. And that means we can go for Masterful Architects and buff the place up. It also means that you can move, and I assume this faction is destroyed now? Yes, Black Kraken Armada destroyed. Gotta thank them for these lovely gifts they gave us. Hey, you, sir. I believe you are actually immune to sea attrition, are you not? Double checking here. I believe you won't heal at sea, but you should be immune to the attrition. Oh, you actually will heal at sea. Swell. Alright, start going this way. Go through in case you spot an island or two, but you need to make landfall and help with Malice before his army or armies, wherever they are, assuming they haven't already been destroyed by Imrik, because he was hurt, which is... oh no. Arbol, please don't fight him, or just go away. Don't fight him. Damn, look at that. Now that's truly Cornate, isn't it? These guys are advancing towards Imrik's territories with like one guy. This is perfection. I love everything about it. Minus the fact that we didn't want them to do that, but I am still absolutely loving it. I also should try to force Sarbal into a fight with... I wonder if it's still Clan Carrion at Nagashazar or some other Skaven clan. But anyway, we really want to take Shakalot's lair for ourselves, so we're going to do so right now, and then move back that way. Now, Imrik, his army is trash, admittedly, but he is on Menaethnir, which makes me think that we probably should still fight it, even if it's going to be a relatively minor fight. It might still be worth our time. There's probably a lot of stuff still to do this turn, because it is a new turn, isn't it? I'm just wondering whether we should fight it right now. Okay, let's do it real quick. We are basically out of time, and I will deal with the admin between the episodes, but this I think we will deal with right now. Go, go, go. Alrighty, Imrik's faction may be pretty much broken already, and thus we don't necessarily have to fight this one, but it is Imrik, and he deserves a nice send-off. On top of that, we do have the Mobile Oppression Palace, formerly Demon's Tongue, now on the field, and I do want to try out those flamethrowers. Every one of our main armies should have a command train with it, essentially. Anyway, nice hit with that Dreadquake into the enemy spears there, about nearly 10k damage now between the two volleys. Not central to the enemy blob, of course, but just fine for our purposes. Imrik and Menaethnir are beginning to move towards us, while Drazhoath will hit the other sort of side of the enemy army. Going to start with an Ash Storm, followed by the Flames of Azgorh to burninate as many of those poor archers as possible, while Draj and Cinderbreath engage the enemy Sun Dragon in combat. Meanwhile, Imrik is moving in, but all that fire resistance doesn't mean much. We're going to pop the Vial of Hushit, giving him weakness to fire damage plus 60%, speed reduction, and then have all of our, at the very least, all of our fire glaives fire upon him, and even get a nice fire breath going just because we can from our Demon Smith Sorcerer. Ooh, looks like Menaethnir attempted to get a Star Dragon Breath out on our line, but unfortunately just managed to get staggered and failed to do so, and Imrik will fall from the sky long before Drazhoath even reaches him. Oh, well, there is somebody even more scary than Imrik in this fight, and it is, of course, Michaela, who has been inducted into the ranks of our legendary lords and heroes, our community canon on the channel, for burninating just the most ludicrous number of enemies in our own Imrik campaign. Anyway, these two will face off against each other, but as we've already seen, it looks like the enemy's fire resistance really doesn't mean much when we can just reduce it to nothing and then take it negative as well. Otherwise, it does look like some of the enemy melee troops will at least reach us, and of course the Dragon Princes will charge forth, though how effective they'll be once they reach us remains to be seen. I'm going to fire upon them with our fire glaives, and they will follow the enemy rangers into battle against the Iron Sworn, but it looks like the mass and the charge defense of the Iron Sworn is more than enough to take their charge, and here come the Kadai to smash those Dragon Princes asunder. Tier 5 or not, they're not going to achieve too much here. And we're going to pop Dark Subjugation on them as well in order to reduce their melee defense. Our Kadai Destroyers moving around. And here come the rest of the Kadai. It's their time to shine, together with the Iron Sworn just rushing forward. Ripping through the enemy white lines and trying to get to the enemy main line. And of course, should the enemy try to run, they're stuck in the Ash Storm now, so they're slower and their fire resistance is decreased as well. And by the looks of it, this horrific battle is pretty much ours. The balance of power shifts fully in our favor, and the remnants of Imrik's force do shatter. Also got to point out that Peacebreaker and the, well, generally speaking, the Kadai Destroyers do quite well at going after single targets. We've seen them duel giants, we've seen them obliterate heroes, even highly defensive ones like these nobles here. There we go, well done. Gotta love the destroyers, and we'll definitely make a couple of more destroyers in another army. Can't have Kadai only in one after all. I wanted to combine some Kadai Fireborn with some Flamethrowers of Tzeentch, maybe a little bit more of fire action, just generally make another very fire-centric army here. Lovely little fight. Alrighty, there we go. Just a small battle, obviously one that I would normally just auto-resolve, considering most of Imrik's army had already been heavily damaged, presumably from fighting Malice, but it is Imrik. I do love the character, and his campaign was one of my favorites that I've done on the channel, so he definitely deserved a proper send-off. If being, you know, sniped by thousands of laser bolts while all your fire resistances are removed and fire weaknesses added counts as a proper send-off, he certainly got that. Sorry, Imrik. I love you, bud, but I don't think we'll be seeing you again. Other Trickster Shard acquired. Nice, and I assume this entire territory will be factories as well. And there we go. Alrighty, bonus versus large and more fire resistance. Well, you know what? We're near maxed out. Well, technically we are maxed out, but there is weakness to fire resistance, which will counteract some of this via various means. So yeah, I like it. I like it a lot. Plus we got another Trickster Shard out of it. Anyway, with that, folks, I believe we're out of time, and I'm gonna call the episode here. Next time we loop back around to try to destroy Malice for good, and then start heading towards our campaign objectives. There are the Ancestor Relic battles here, and there is another one out here as well, close to these armies that are, well, closing in. We'll also have another fight with the Lava Trolls here. Try to acquire this landmark, and like I said, we're going to start recruiting, since we have the military doctrine up and running now, our elite, our elite infantry army, which should be pretty fun. With the one that's going to have only a few elite units and then mostly laborers, I just want to see how those aspiring champion equivalents fare against the enemy. Anyway, more Chaos Dwarfs to come, so stay tuned. Don't forget to leave those likes and comments below, especially the threshold for the longer episode. All glory to the algorithm, and thanks for watching.